Hey, how's it going everyone? This is YLAM here. In today's video, I want to talk about 8K and how we can actually make it useful because it's something that's showing up in cameras right now and it's going to be showing up in more cameras in the future. And it's something that a lot of us agree that we really don't need it right now because we're struggling to find 4K useful for a lot of content creation that we're currently doing. Obviously, we are slowly moving to 8K and there are definite quality benefits to it, but there is an argument to be made on whether or not the value proposition is actually any good because a lot of people still doing full HD or 1080p and they're doing very well and very successful right now. Whereas channels like mine, I try to really publish in 4K, but really it doesn't really matter for the people that are watching my content. Now, if you're doing professional work, you might have a mandatory requirement of mastering in 2K or 4K, which is perfectly fine. But for a lot of us content creators, full HD or 4K is kind of still optional right now. So as we progress to 8K, is there going to be any benefits to it? And I think there is going to be some, but it's going to take a little bit of ingenuity. And the reason why I say that is because of the rise of vertical video, the Periscopes of the world. And then there are, of course, Instagram videos that are getting very popular right now. So the rise of vertical video, that's really something important to look at because a lot of the newer generation is really buying into that type of content format, which means what's going to happen is professional content is going to follow. And you can see that with the Canon C70, in which you can have that camera do professional vertical video. And it's something that's very interesting because that means somebody actually did some analysis on the Canon side and they're saying that this is something that they need to look at and they need to have a camera that's actually able to fulfill that type of requirement. And that's something that you really need to kind of pay attention to because it's the first professional camera that really openly supports vertical professional video recording. And it's something for us professionals and content creators to really pay attention to. And the reason why I tie it back to 8K is because with that huge increase in resolution, we can do some really nifty things. In other words, we don't really need to master an 8K or we don't need the final output to be 8K, but we can use all of that resolution to be able to record, say, 2 different video ratios. In other words, what you would do is you would go ahead and set up a scene in which you're really further out, you're a little bit wider, and then you would have a box to say, this is your 4K ratio format that you're going to record, and then you can have another box that overlays on top of it, and that's your video format. So what's going to do in a realistic world, one SD card will capture the 4K widescreen format, and another SD card or whatever media that you want to record to will record the vertical format. So in one recording, you can capture both of the format ratios that are going to be popular in the future. And the reason why I say that is with the COVID lockdown, what I'm seeing and what other people are seeing, and we're really trying to get the analytics on this, is that there is a growing number of people, or it's growing faster, that a lot of people are consuming more video content on their smartphones with the lockdown with their houses. They're just liking to consume content on either tablets or smartphones, and there is a rise in people watching video format. So these are things that content creators need to pay attention to because YouTube will not be the dominant format forever, and widescreen might not be the dominant format for a lot of different types of content like this talking head video that I have right now. There may be people out there that would rather consume it in a vertical format. And what would be great is having a camera system that has an 8K sensor that can capture both of those popular formats in one clip, and I can edit it like it's one clip because that would be something that would be super interesting. And I think a lot of content creators in the future would kind of buy into because they're going to want to be able to distribute their content in as many platforms as possible, whether it's a widescreen format or vertical format. Being able to actually create that content easier or doing it in one sitting would be great because it would be kind of annoying to have to record the video once in widescreen and then either having to crop it to be a vertical video, and you're going to have to do little funny tricks in order to do that. But if it's a camera that can just record to both and have it both be 4K high quality, and each memory card can record different aspect ratios, I think that would be a really great use of how we can use 8K, which is not to try to use every megapixel of 8K, but instead to be able to actually use the aspect ratios that we need for 4K in different types of formats. There are other technologies in the broadcast realm that already kind of does that, so I'm really just implementing something that's already existent into what we're going to do for these mirrorless cameras and how to take advantage of different ways to use 8K, because we know that technology is coming, but we really don't need that much of a resolution, but we can do other things with it to really make it effective and allow us to actually distribute content in multiple different platforms, which is great. Now, ultimately, what I would love to see happen is I can set up my shot, I can set up the aspect ratio for widescreen, set up an aspect ratio for vertical, and then I start recording and it records to one file. But it has both of the ratios that I want in 4K. When I go ahead and put it into my editing software, it will recognize that there are two aspect ratios and it'll put it in a timeline where I can see both. So I can flip over to the widescreen one, I can see the vertical one, but I can edit it as one timeline. So if I want to do edit cuts, it's going to be added to both. So I'm actually editing two different aspect ratios, but it's really the same video. So once I actually do my edit, I can actually export both of them, one for widescreen, one for video. And I can go ahead, look it over, and then I can distribute it to the platforms that they should be going to, which really allows me to have faster workflow, which is something that on this channel I talk about all of the time, especially for ENG content or run and gun content. You're really racing against the clock of getting your content out there first. So being able to do that would be something that I would love to see. So that's all I have to talk about today for this video. Definitely leave your comments below on what you think about that. I am definitely trying to do a new segment, but I'm not trying to do it on Fridays. I might try to do it on Wednesdays. It's just that right now I'm really busy, and I'm also trying to be active in certain other things, so I've been really keeping YouTube as a sidebar thing, but I will try to do other news content like I did last week. I just haven't quite figured out the formats yet, and also the time that I can actually invest in doing this. So definitely let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you stay healthy out there, and I'll see you in the next video.